Strelitz Archives, Coastal Isle Grounding. This is the Coastal Isle, a container feeder ship registered under the Antigua and Barbuda flag, manned by a German captain and 9 Turkish crew. On the 1st of July 2012, the ship had left Belfast at 9 p.m., with the captain and a few other crew members in charge of departure. The chief officer, who was set to take the watch at 11 p.m., was watching TV in the officer's mess until the signal faded. He retired to his cabin and got ready for his shift later on. Meanwhile, the captain had decided to stop the engines and let the vessel drift for a while. This is a normal procedure. They use this to delay arrival times and allow for sufficient rest for the crew members, especially in this kind of short trading route. At 10:50 p.m., the chief officer arrives at the bridge for his shift, but the master just tells him to come back when he hears the engine start. 40 minutes later, at 11:30, the ship does resume its voyage, and the chief officer takes over. And 25 minutes later, the captain retires to his cabin when ordinary seaman or OS joins the chief for the night shift. All goes well for the time being, and on the 2nd of July 2012 at 02:20 a.m., the Coastal Isle arrives at Waypoint 6, or Ailsa Craig, near the bottom of the map. Her course is altered to 006 degrees, or almost due north, steaming at around 12 knots. No traffic was reported, and the next waypoint is 30 miles away. Smooth enough, right? Well, not exactly. 20 minutes pass, and the chief officer dismisses his companion, the OS, who then decides to sleep in his cabin. Shortly after, at 3 a.m., the chief officer then reports that he has stomach cramps. Surprisingly enough, he does not use the bridge toilet, which is a few steps away. Nor does he wake anyone up. Instead, he goes to leave the bridge entirely unattended. Down 2 decks he goes into his cabin. The captain wakes up at 4:30 a.m. and he has to take over the watch shift at 5 a.m. However, at 4:43 a.m., he feels the heavy vibrations. He rushes up to the bridge, but he finds no one there. He stops the engine, and the second officer arrives shortly after. He tells the second to locate the chief officer, and he does so, accompanied by the chief engineer and the same OS who was dismissed earlier. The three went to the chief officer's cabin, and the second officer enters. Reports conflict on where the chief officer was actually found. Initial witness accounts say he was on the bed, while later on these changed to him being unconscious in the toilet. Either way, he wakes up, emerges from the cabin, at which point the chief engineer accuses him of endangering the lives of his shipmates, and they get into a heated argument. Eventually, the ship calls for assistance and they manage to get to their destination at Greenock with the assistance of the deputy harbor master and a tugboat. At noon that day, the local police arrive and carried out a breath alcohol test on the chief officer. The results came out as negative. The Maritime and Coast Guard Agency came aboard to conduct interviews. The chief officer told the enforcement officer that he had been unconscious in the toilet for nearly 2 hours. The enforcement officer asked the chief officer if he would like to see a doctor. He then declined the offer. The coastal isle suffered extensive structural damage and approximately 12 to 13 tons of steel had to be renewed. On the 3rd of July, Strathclyde police placed the chief officer under arrest on charges of neglecting to keep a safe watch, endangering the lives of his shipmates, and endangering the environment. He was subsequently prosecuted in the Scottish courts, and he pleaded guilty at the Sheriff Court in Greenock on November 23, 2012, to failing to safely navigate his ship. He was then fined £5,000. The ship owner demoted him to the rank of ordinary seaman. He continued to work on board and did not suffer any further medical incidents. Currently, the vessel Coastal Isle itself is sailing under a new name and flag. And that was the Coastal Isle grounding. I'm Leo Strelitz, signing out. If you liked that video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Twitter at Leo Strelitz and hashtag LeoSStream, as well as Strelitz Archives. Thank you and goodbye.